What is the one thing that will guarantee that you will never be an airline pilot? If you said losing your first class medical, you would be correct. Hey guys, my name is Katie. I'm a professional pilot, but before I was a professional pilot, I was a Division I athlete, and I was also one of the first women combat arms officers in the United States Army. So needless to say, my body took a bit of a beating in my 20s, and now in my 30s and as a professional pilot, reducing inflammation and health and fitness is very important to me, as it should be for all of us investing in our first class medical. I honestly feel like I've kind of cracked the code on how to keep your inflammation down working as a pilot, which will really help prevent almost all injuries, illness, and things like that. I have a fitness guide that I have put together. It's a PDF which covers the exact workouts that I do, which are perfectly modified for hotel rooms, more information on specifics that I'm going to cover in this, but I have been asked multiple times to go over these hacks that I have kind of developed to reduce chronic pain and inflammation. So I'm going to give you 5 hacks, and they can be done by anyone. You don't have to be a Division I athlete. And these are the things that I do to reduce inflammation. And the last one might surprise you. Okay, so first on the list should be a surprise to no one. We're gonna talk about nutrition and hydration. Now, as a pilot, you're sitting all day, and I have heard it said that sitting is the new smoking, which basically means that it increases your inflammation and it leads to a lot of different health issues. So first of all, we have the sitting all day. We're usually intentionally dehydrating ourselves or just not hydrating well on the road as pilots because we are sitting in a plane for 4 or 5 hour legs sometimes. We're over caffeinating quite a bit, which is just a sort of a reality because we are usually working outside of normal circadian rhythm patterns. So all of this combined is why airline pilots say it is kind of a hard career on your body. Really, we're talking about protein. Everybody knows that gym rats are eating like a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So for me, I would be eating like 135 grams of protein a day. However, that may not be realistic for the normal person that's maybe not lifting weights that heavy, but I do think we should be striving to get close to that. So for me, at my weight and my size, I try to get at least 100 grams of protein a day, and I really do notice a big difference in my inflammation markers, meaning I'm in pain, when I don't have enough protein per day. So how do you do this on the road? Well, you can bring things like protein bars. Obviously, we try to stay away from processed foods, but on the road, maybe that is something you're gonna lean a little bit heavier on. You can also walk to a gas station, which I do quite frequently, and buy some of those Fairlife protein shakes, which usually have 30 to 42 grams of protein, which really can help start your day off correctly with enough protein. Another thing to talk about is I know every hotel has that same continental breakfast. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's all the same. It's like oatmeal, eggs, a couple apples and bananas, and then some sugary pastries and whatever else. So there's boiled eggs at every single one of those. So what I will usually do on the road is I will get 3 to 5 boiled eggs and then apples and bananas for breakfast, and then take a couple with you. And that already is gonna really help support your day. You can even bring a small Tupperware container and throw a couple boiled eggs in there, and then you have a high protein, nutrient dense snack for later on in the day. And I get it, sometimes we're just out there in survival mode and we're gonna eat that sugary pastry at 4 in the morning, and that's just the reality of life. However, if you're gonna do that, offset it by also consuming protein and fat at the same time, which can help regulate your blood sugar and offset that insulin spike. So throw a boiled egg in there, throw some protein powder in a bag, bring that along, and have that alongside of maybe that more processed food item. Along the lines of processed food, my husband has a saying that if an item has more than 4 ingredients, he doesn't eat it. And obviously this is not a hard and fast rule, but if you need a science degree to decipher the packaging on that item, it might not be the best choice. And again, there might be times where you're grabbing a protein bar, which is a highly processed food, but we're gonna try to strive for whole foods on the road, which is like apples, bananas, those boiled eggs. Even a piece of bacon, in my opinion, is better than something highly processed because we know what that is. In the same category is hydration, which is super, super important. So I notice a huge difference in my inflammation markers when I'm not getting enough water throughout the day. I try to drink a gallon a day and I really never get there, but I get pretty close. And on the road, I bring a stainless steel refillable water bottle that fits in my flight bag. And then throughout the airport, we have all of those little refill bottle containers, which will be filtered water, and you can grab that on the road on the way to your next gate and keep hydrated. I also bring a small container of Celtic sea salt, which is high in minerals and nutrients, and I just put a little pinch in there and it helps with hydration and absorbing that hydration into your cells. If you are not aware, tap water is really not good for you. It is full of pesticide runoff and all kinds of other heavy metals that really are not great for your body, which will increase inflammation. So when I'm at home, another thing that I do that really helps offset the inflammation that I do inevitably get when I'm on the road is we have an in-sink water filtration system. It was only about $400, which honestly to me is not that much if it's a permanent item in your kitchen. And it has really, really been a huge benefit for reducing inflammation overall, is having a highly filtered water system that you can be consuming filtered water from. Now, when I go to the gym and if I drink water there, it honestly just tastes like straight chlorine, and my body can really tell a difference now that I'm getting actual clean water throughout the day. My husband is the guy that researches stuff in our house, which I love because it's not me. So he went through the process of finding the best water filter when we moved into our house and had it installed. So I will put that in this video for you linked so that you guys could purchase that without going through the whole process of researching it. The next part of this, you're not gonna like, but it is that you need to limit your caffeine intake. Now, I have caffeine every day. I get it as pilots. We kind of need it to do the job, but it is something that does increase inflammation and it should be limited. So I stick to 1 serving per day. Now, if I'm on a day where it's like, hey, we're just getting through and I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, I will occasionally have an energy drink, but it is one of those items that I really try to limit because I will pay for it later with my inflammation markers and I will be kind of in pain the next day. So just keep that in mind, track your caffeine a little bit and just try to keep it to a minimum and not be having 4 cups of coffee today as your norm. And just as a little bit of a side note along the lines of the whole nutrition piece, I'm not sure if you've heard, but red meat, eggs, butter, whole fat milks are actually pretty darn good for you. This was kind of a lie that was perpetuated by some companies that were lobbying to remove these things from food back in the day. And we've come around and realized that those are pretty good for you actually. So, you know, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, but I do eat all of those things. I eat steak, I eat butter, I eat whole fat milks, and it is much more satiating as well. So eating healthy does not mean you have to be eating a salad and be starving. And honestly, if you're doing it that way, you're not going to maintain it and it's not going to be the best for your body anyways. So really nourish your body with those kinds of foods. All right, next up in hacks to reduce inflammation and improve your overall health, we're going to talk about movement. So when I went to get my first class medical in Atlanta, the AME there told me walking is exercise. And he said that pilots typically have neck, back, spine, and musculoskeletal issues. And the reason for that is those seats are not built for comfort. They are built for crash safety in the airplanes. So you're constantly sitting in a position that is really ergonomically bad for you. It shortens your hip flexor, creates tight hip flexors, which is something that leads to low back problems. So walking is one of the #1 things that you can do to help with back injuries, and it reduces inflammation. There was a study that said if you walk for over 20 minutes, it has the same effect as taking like an ibuprofen to reduce inflammation, which I thought was really cool. So this is something that I do. I have a step tracker on my watch and I try to walk 10,000 steps a day. Start with 4,000 steps a day if you haven't been doing this, and try to build up to 8,000. 8,000 is the number that these studies have been done on, which is basically saying this is where you get a lot of those health benefits. 8,000 to 10,000, the benefits don't continue to increase quite as much. They're still good for you, but 8,000 is that number you kind of want to be hitting today with the science that we have so far. So I hit 10,000 a day just because that's something I've been doing for a long time. But overall, the general idea is you got to be walking. And there's another study that said that if you do 1 exercise a day, but you're sedentary for the rest of the day, the person that moves consistently throughout the day actually has a better health outcome. So the general idea is we need to be up and moving, getting the blood moving, keeping inflammation down through that process of movement. If you only have time to walk a couple times a day, this is what you can do, which is going to give you the most bang for your buck. And it is walking right after a meal. So studies have shown that if you get up and walk for 20 minutes after a meal, it lowers that insulin spike, which is going to be really good for you, help you not to put on fat if that's something you're trying to avoid, and overall just be a positive for your health. Another benefit of walking is getting sunlight on your skin. So this is another thing that most people are deficient in vitamin D, which is super important for almost all of your health functions. So we obviously need to be careful because I know skin cancer can be a problem for pilots. So when you're up in the cockpit, I do suggest wearing sunscreen to help prevent with that solar radiation that we have more exposure to. However, I try to get direct sunlight on my skin throughout the day when I'm on the ground because you need to be getting vitamin D. I actually have an app, just because I'm a nerd, which you can put in your location and time and sun exposure, and it'll show your vitamin D levels in your blood. And shockingly, it is really hard to get enough vitamin D. So this is something as well. Try to get vitamin D through sunlight, eyes in the sun. This also helps reset your circadian rhythms and really tells your brain how to function, where we are in time and space. And that talks to your hormones and all of your other health processes. Aside from walking, strength training is another really good thing to be doing. So I'm not talking about getting into the gym and being a bodybuilder. That's kind of how I used to be in my 20s. And I really do not support that anymore if you're in a phase of life where you're just really focusing on health and reducing inflammation and longevity. So now my workouts are really more like a physical therapy session. I had a time in my life where I went to physical therapy 3 times a week for almost 8 months to help manage some of the military injuries that I have sustained. And it really was eye-opening to me because we were doing things like deadlifting under supervision. And I have carried those principles into my workouts. Those are the type of workouts that I put in this fitness guide because I can't possibly go through every type of movement that I'm doing, but it's a lot of core focused movements. And this has been a huge difference in me in noticing my pain reduction and my overall health and fitness. And I'm only doing about 3 times a week. My husband also kind of jokes that if you're working out more than 3 times a week and not seeing results, you're just not working out correctly or hard enough in those 3 times a week. But the overall point is you really don't have to be living, breathing in the gym 24/7. And overall, I feel like I have been in the best shape of my life now, focusing on this kind of training. Also, there are studies that have shown that the more muscle mass you have, the less likely you are to die of heart disease. So this is just something that's really good for all of us, especially as we start to age. This can help improve our balance and prevent injuries. For women, you really need to focus on building bone density, and strength training is the way to go for that. So strength training is huge, important, but also doing it correctly where you're not stressing your body out too much or injuring yourself in the gym. So that is what I have put this guide together for. These workouts are also doable in a hotel room because this is what I'm doing. If I don't have a hotel room, I have a flight of stairs, or I have the little hotel gym that we kind of know is standard in a lot of those Hilton type properties. All right, next up, let's talk about products. So I'm not a big proponent of a bunch of different health products, but there are some things that I have kind of developed over time which are easy to integrate into your life and do have a high positive impact on your health. So if you're using Teflon nonstick pans, you need to throw those out. You need to have stainless steel cast iron. If you're using plastic spatulas to cook with or plastic heated up in your kitchen really in any way, you need to get rid of it. The data is pretty clear on this that there's really no healthy form of plastic for us to be having our food stored in. So go to a glass type of containers. There's stuff on Amazon that's relatively inexpensive that you can just order and switch over to. I've already talked about the water filtration system, so I'll put that in here as well. And then on top of that, there's a lot of information that's come out recently that's talking about how bad the chemicals in our cleaning products are and our scented items in our home, like candles, perfumes, and plugins and things like that. So I don't do any of that. We just use vinegar to clean with, and we use vinegar even as a laundry detergent. So if you think I'm crazy, just try it out. It really does clean your clothes. It's much less expensive than laundry detergent, and it's not a toxic product. Aside from that, and something that applies to you on the road, I would highly suggest investing in a very good pair of shoes. So something with arch support, back support, this is going to be really important to keeping yourself out of pain overall. Go buy a custom insert for your shoe if you need to, but buy a good pair of shoes, even if it's $200. This is going to be really important to support your health overall, walking through the airport and standing all day as we tend to do outside of the airplane. Now, this is not something you can really apply to a hotel room, but I do also support getting a good quality mattress. So there's certain things in life that you just need to put your money into. Good shoes and good mattress are two for me. That will really help you get good sleep and have a big impact on how much pain you're in when you get up in the morning. As far as supplements, I don't take a whole lot of supplements, and there's not really anything specific behind that. It's just that I prefer to get my nutrition through food. So I do 2 Brazil nuts in the morning. That's your daily dose of selenium, and to me, that's a pretty easy thing to integrate into your lifestyle. I will sometimes do like a shilajit in the coffee because, again, I don't think that's really hard to maintain, but I don't really like to be taking a handful of supplements every day. So I just kind of choose wisely, maybe sometimes a vitamin D supplement in the winter. I do take a high quality women's specific multivitamin every day, and that's about it. You know, I think that this is kind of a personal process. You could go get your blood work done and see what your doctor recommends, but overall, I would try to suggest getting your nutrition through food. I like to buy my supplements at the grocery store where I just get it through foods and consume high nutrient dense quality products like red meats, eggs, butter, cheeses, creams, and fruits and vegetables and things like that. But on the road, if you don't have access to those kinds of things, this is where sometimes I will bring a multivitamin or I will bring some kind of meal support protein shake, and that helps me out. Or if I'm gonna be in the airport all day, or maybe I'm working overnight, then I'll take some vitamin D as a supplement in that kind of an instance. All right, now let's talk about recovery items. So I am in the phase of life where I'm investing in things that help me recover quickly, and maybe you are too. So I'm at the place in life where I'm gonna pay for a massage. I'm going to just readjust my budget because I know everybody's in a different place financially, but I'm investing in things that really help me. So cupping, I have found to be really helpful, dry needling, massage, and I will just put money into that. It's not something that I'm really concerned about because it really does have a big impact on reducing inflammation. So massage is a big one that will help reduce inflammation. It's through both psychological and also just flushing lactic acid out of your muscles. So find what works for you. Maybe it's going to yoga. So buying a yoga membership is something that you invest in. But overall, I would just support the idea of when you're home, find something that helps you recover. If it's walking, running, going to yoga, you can even do that on your overnights, or you can buy a massage on your overnights, but just make this a priority. So something that is free and that you can do in your hotel room every single day is stretching. If you have a small foam roller, you could bring that as well, or you can do that when you're at home, but stretching and foam rolling is something that you should just kind of add into your routine, focusing on hip flexors and hamstrings for low back problems if that's something that you're encountering in the airplane. The next thing is probably one of the most important, and it is also free and something you do every single day, which is sleeping. We know as pilots, we're all over the place time-wise, backside of the clock, and all kinds of wildness. So first of all, when you are home, sleep needs to be a really big priority. I make sure that I just go to sleep. I don't even set an alarm, and I just let my body sleep as much as it can to recover from those days when I'm getting up at 2:30 in the morning or whatever the case may be. On that same category though, we know that there's some studies that have showed that it takes up to 3 days in the same place for your brain to fully go to sleep, which means if you're in a hotel room, your brain is just not able to assess whether you're safe or not because there's all these new noises and you're really never getting into that deep sleep, which is why you probably always feel tired sleeping in a hotel room. So what you can do to combat that is get a good quality eye mask. That light is really going to be a problem if you're trying to sleep. We all know there's that weird alarm clock that you can't seem to turn off that blaring light in the hotel room, and then a white noise machine or app on your phone and just turn it up all the way. That can be really helpful because if you're using the same white noise machine at home, your brain can kind of fully go to sleep and actually get you some rest. You could also, in this instance, maybe take a magnesium supplement before bed, and that can help as well, naturally help you sleep well. Another thing to do in the hotel room, which most people already do, is make it really cold in there. These are things that will help you get good quality sleep on the road. All right, our last category, and this one might kind of surprise you, is psychological factors. So stress is the reality of being a pilot. We're kind of professional stress managers. But we all know that there's chronic and acute stress. So you may be in the plane getting some acute stress, but if you're having chronic stress throughout your life, through relationship factors or whatever else is going on for you, that is going to translate to inflammation in your body. So here's what you can do to prevent that. If you're not aware, the FAA has changed their guidelines on seeking counseling for mental health concerns. So if you're going to see a professional mental health specialist and the visit does not result in a diagnosis, you do not have to report that on your FAA medical. This is directly from the FAA. This is not my rules. So this is something that we all need to be aware of, because a lot of pilots think that they cannot go to therapy. Now, I'm sure some of you are already saying, well, Katie, whenever you go to a therapist, they give you a diagnosis for insurance billing purposes. And to that, I say, maybe this is something that is worth it and valuable enough that you just pay out of pocket. Have a conversation with your therapist and explain to them, hey, I am a pilot, I want to be ethical, and I obviously need to report things to the FAA if you do give me a diagnosis. So I'm going to ask you to not give me a diagnosis, maybe just do paper charting. And if you do feel like you need to give me a diagnosis, we need to have a conversation about that beforehand. Because we obviously need to be correct, we need to be reporting things to the FAA if we do actually have mental health diagnoses. But the FAA has kind of realized that therapy can be a helpful tool for people. Maybe you're going through a divorce and you just need to talk to someone, and the FAA is actually trying to support that. So we all need to know this and be taking care of our mental health. Outside of that, we know we should be managing our stress in general. So this is something that on the road, if you've had a really stressful time, maybe going to alcohol is not the answer. I know that that's kind of a joke with pilots, but I really try to stay away from alcohol because it really does increase inflammation, and it also messes with your gut biome, and it also disrupts your sleep by not allowing your brain to fully go into REM cycles. So try to avoid the alcohol, maybe go for a walk, maybe go outside and get barefoot in nature if you can, something like that, or go do something fun, go to a museum, go to a movie, do something else that may help reduce that stress, socialize, things like that. And then when you're at home, I like to get out in nature. That's something that really helps me feel relaxed, but find whatever is the best coping mechanism for you and employ that in your daily life. And that actually will help you reduce your stress load overall, which will help reduce inflammation. So there's a lot of data out there that says the healthiest and happiest people are people that have a purpose in life. So that, along with having a community, is really important. And this is not me saying that. This is the data that says that people who have community and have healthy relationships are healthier physically as well. So my husband and I are Christians. We have a wonderful church that we love to go to. But if that's not where you're at in your life, find what is meaningful to you. And everybody has to decide what is the purpose of your life, and then build your life around that. So having purposeful interactions, living a life that you really feel good about, it actually does have an impact on your health overall. This whole channel is about giving back to the aviation community. So if you're someone that has something that you have a suggestion for people, put it in the comments. Maybe you are someone that you're okay with people reaching out to you if they're in a mental health crisis. Let's all come together and support each other in the comments section here, because people really do read this and it does make a difference. Also, on this platform, we are open to discussion. So this is not a space where you're going to get canceled. If you have an opinion on anything I've said or a different study with a link to that, put it in the comments section, because we should all be open to learning and hearing each other's opinions on things.